Coming up today, you have questions, but do we have the answers?
You're listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Preece.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Double Tap, and it's a special today. Oh, I nearly jumped in and said his name, Shaun Preece. I nearly said his name right away. I'm so excited.
Okay, well, you should be excited, of course, because it's one of those episodes. It's Ask Mickey Anything.
Oh, that was nice, wasn't it? Oh,
you guys were off a little bit by the anything.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
we'll work on it.
Honestly, critiquing us already. We haven't even started yet, and he said he's critiquing us. We made a jingle for you. We had graphics done. There was absolutely zero budget involved in it. I'm sure we got that from somewhere we shouldn't have. But hey, it is great to have you back with us, Michael. How are you this week?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to answer some tech questions and more.
Oh. Well, that's a really good way to put it, yeah, because it is a mix of questions we have. Shall we dive right in?
Let's go.
Okay, so let's kick off with our first question that we got from Lindy.
Hi, Stephen, Shaun, et al. I'm looking for a way to mark frozen foods in a chest freezer. I am totally blind and do not read or write braille. I once had some strong elasticy bands with different shaped tactile bubbles, which were excellent for putting around containers of various things, but have not been able to find anything similar. As I live in Australia, I wondered if your listeners had any ideas. My partner is sighted and wants to use coloured labels, but these won't work for me, and he cooks in bulk. Great for resourcefulness, but not so great for blind partners who need to prepare food at short notice. I admit that I went blind at 40 years old and find tech difficult, especially when it comes to images and YouTube videos for shopping. I rely on audio and just want things to be simple. Thanks for the entertaining and informative podcast. Cheers, Lindy.
Well, thanks for the question, Lindy. I'm going to defer to the cooks amongst us. I mean, for me, it's dial-a-dinner or chicken ding in this house. So, any thoughts, guys?
Well, I was immediately going to say the luggage tags, the elasticated tags with some some sort of tactile symbol, but that's exactly what she's already tried. I don't know where you would source them. That's the only thing. But like I say, I have heard people using elasticated luggage tags. I don't know if that helps at all. But the trouble is with anything in the freezer, if you try and use some sort of QR code or one of these scanning things, most of the time it's frosted over and you can't use it very well, right?
So where my mind went was to the PenFriend, because apparently you can get those in different colors and different shapes. I don't know about the freezing them, though. I do know with way around labels, because we sell them at AT Guys, they're used in the freezer a lot. They're used in a lot of different, we have a gentleman who actually uses them to identify his cattle on his ranch. So that might be an option for you. But what I liked about the PenFriend is her significant other could be happy with different colors, and then she can put whatever information she needs on it. The question is, though, if you lose your PenFriend, because I've never used one, do you lose all your data, or can you back that up anywhere?
You can back it up, yeah. You can hook up to the computer, or you can connect it via USB to a computer and then save the file off with all the information on it. So it's a good idea to do that every so often, because exactly that. You could lose it or misplace it, or something might go wrong. It's good to do that. You can get various tags for it as well. You can get the stickers. You can also get, I believe, buttons as well. You can also get magnets for it, different things. You can get lots of different things now, a lot more than you used to be able to.
I thought that it was discontinued at one point.
No, it's still very much alive.
Yeah,
it's still PenFriend 3 is the kind of current one. Yeah,
I think they just upgraded. What about NaviLens, though? Could that be a solution too?
So NaviLens is good, but you would create your own codes, right? So you'd have to create the code. That sounds a bit more involved for this kind of situation.
Yeah.
What I like about the PenFriend is you essentially have and the stickers you mentioned about the colors. The colors are kind of irrelevant, Lindy, because it doesn't matter to you necessarily about the colors. Really, it's just, I suppose, it's a way of identifying them visually if you had to. But really, what you're doing is once you've put that sticker on there, you press the button, you hold it to the sticker, and it sort of registers with that sticker, and then you record the information on it that you want. If that information changes, so let's say it's a container you're putting food in, you could easily change that container from rice to pasta or whatever you wanted. You could have whatever you want in that label and just change it. And each time you hold it up, each time you take the PenFriend and it's turned on and put it up next to the label, it will say, it will actually play back the audio file that you've recorded. It's a really good system. It's one of those things that feels a little bit old in today's world, but it's still very popular. And you know, I use it for plugs. I use it for plugs on the wall. So I know what I've plugged in. You go down, you're trying to figure out which plug is plugged in. And where's the plug for this? I can literally just take my PenFriend, doesn't matter if there's any light or not, and I can just poke the PenFriend at the plug that's plugged in, and it will, yes, exactly, thank you, Shaun.
That's cool.
Like a supermarket
just like that.
thing.
Yeah. And it'll play back the audio file saying, you know, do not unplug this. And that's brilliant.
We're saying this sounds a little bit old and whatever, but actually this may be the perfect solution, because we don't know if Lindy, as she mentioned about, you know, not being too confident with tech. I mean, who knows if she's using a smartphone or whatever for the usual scanning methods that we use. I mean, you could also use an RFID sticker and do the same thing as the PenFriend if you just swipe your phone over it. But it's a bit more involved. It's not quite as easy and elegant as the PenFriend. I think that probably is the best answer.
Yeah.
I remember we did talk about NFC tags a while ago. Our good friend Negative Julian, who gets in touch with us regularly, he recorded quite a piece. In fact, it's on our website. Good luck finding it. But it's on the website. I'm sure it's on there somewhere. There's someone's going to fix that website. Michael, you got any time?
Last time I looked at it was on fire.
Yeah. It was a train hit a wall, which happened to have a dumpster next to it on fire.
I feel the pain. I feel the pain.
No, we're getting it sorted. It's being fixed. That's my plan over Christmas and New Year. That when everyone else is having downtime and full of turkey, that's what I'm going to be doing, is fixing that website once and for all.
Do you use Mars Edit?
I do, yes, on the Mac. Yeah, that's Mars Edit is a great application to manage WordPress sites.
Yes.
Now it has got its quirks.
Like everything.
Yeah, but it is good if you've got you have to have an existing site. You have to have the site set up, and really what you're doing is you're just creating posts in the almost like an editor. You can use Ulysses as well.
Yep.
Ulysses on the Mac will let you post directly to a WordPress site using the Markdown and everything else. So yeah, there's that option as well.
There's even a drafts action for those who are fond of drafts that you can connect your WordPress site to, and then it'll convert the Markdown to rich text and then post it to your WordPress site.
That's nice.
Goodness me, that was a little additional question there. I like that.
Yes, no one asked.
No one asked for that one, and we got a little bonus, just a little Christmas
I get to
bonus
ask
for you.
questions too, right?
That's how it works around here. You know us. There's no structure.
I might not get an answer, but
no, exactly. More than likely you won't. Okay, let's move on to John's question.
Good morning, Double Tap. I've wanted to ask a few questions, but have been on the fence, as I did not want to sound ignorant with my lack of knowledge. However, I will ask anyway, as there must be other listeners with similar questions. First, I regularly hear you both referring to various finger taps and swipes for controlling the iPhone. I believe it was in Shaun's meta demo I learned about a multiple finger tap at the bottom to move to the bottom. And yesterday when Stephen was talking about trying to copy a parcel tracking number, Shaun mentioned some swipe that I missed to capture it. Not to mention, I am totally in the dark with rotors when it comes to VoiceOver. Can you recommend a good resource for educating myself on iPhone VoiceOver tap and swipe control gestures, as well as what are rotors and how to use them? Second, you are regularly talking about earbuds and headphones and AirBuds, etc. Years ago, I used to use wired JVC gummy earbuds with my first generation Victor Reader Stream. I was then introduced to the Trex titanium bone conduction headset, which I currently use and love, but I am not at all familiar with any other types, either from Apple or other name brands you mention. I like the Trex because it leaves my ears free, so I am still aware of my surroundings, but I find, for example, when I'm going for a walk, the slightest bit of ambient noise and I can no longer clearly hear my audiobook. Can you begin by describing a few of the types you regularly mention, such as the AirPod or Air Max, or however they are named? Specifically, how are they worn? Over the ear like the Trex, or in the ear like old-style earbuds? Does Apple or any other brands have a pair you recommend that are worn similarly to the Trex, but you feel are superior in sound quality or performance? Basically, a short segment of audio devices you recommend for the iPhone for dummies to include physical description. Lastly, earlier this year, I wrote in and asked you both to sell me on the Apple Watch, and at the time the consensus was you could not. But yesterday, Stephen was praising his new Apple Watch. Does this mean your opinion has changed? And now would you recommend the Apple Watch to a prospective customer? Thank you, Laura, for reading this long email. Love the show, guys. P.S. To High Warlord Shaun of the Shed. What ho! I hope my Harold finds you well. Perhaps next season we can organise a hunting raid on some trolls. I am confident I can recruit my liege Lord High Warlord Counterproductive, and perhaps Sir Stephen the Bold would accompany our hunting party as well. I wish you success and glory in battle. Warlord Johnny P. the Relentless.
Well, thank you, Warlord. And that's coming from Sporran McPorridge, I believe is my new name I'm going to make on Night Manager.
For anyone confused by that, that's the game Night Manager.
Yes. No one's confused by this, Sean. We know everyone's talking about Night Manager. It's the only game we ever talk about. I'll jump in first, if you don't mind, guys, with the watch question, because, yeah, I have been on the fence a little bit with the watch. The thing about the watch I find is that I often tend to think, if I can reach for my phone and do it just as quickly, I'll just do that. Now, that's because I live at home and I'm really out the front door. When I'm on the move, it's a different story, and I have to think about it in that context rather than just being at home. Because when you're at home, your phone's beside you, maybe it's on the charger, it's always sitting there, and I'd really wear the watch at home. But when I'm out and about, I'm answering calls on there, I'm reading text messages, I'm responding to those text messages, maybe even listening to WhatsApp messages, or at least reading them. There's some cool things I can do with it. Obviously, it's great for health tracking. Lots of people buy it for that. It's one of the main reasons why people do go down that route. So I think it is something worthwhile getting. Personally, I struggled with the Apple Watch Ultra because of the weight of it. So I personally decided to move away from it and got the Series 10, which is much lighter. And it's a really nice device. Although I have typical blind moment where I had it charged or plugging into charge. I didn't realize the charger wasn't plugged into anything. So it lies there currently dead. But we'll get that sorted later on. Because I was out today and I was just thinking that'd be quite cool to use it, but it was dead. But that's the thing. I tend to think of it as I'll definitely have it with me when I'm out and about. I also love the idea of Apple Pay on it. I use that on it all the time when I'm out. So much easier than going into my pocket or into my bag to get my phone out. I kind of feel that, and there's lots more apps for navigation I could probably play with and I haven't played around with, but there's lots of reasons to go down the watch route. I would say the Series 10 is a great value. The series or the Watch SE series is another one. If you don't really want all the bells and whistles or don't feel you need all the bells and whistles, then that is definitely worth it. And around sales as you're getting right now, and you'll probably find at the end of the year or the turn of the year, you'll get some good bargains on it. So yeah, I do think the watch is a great purchase. If you are at home all the time and you're not really out much, I don't know if I'd go down that road. Anyway, you guys can pick up on any other points or that, whatever you want.
Now, related to the headphones, I am familiar with the Shox Treks. Those are very older headphones, probably like 10-ish years old. These are the ones that sit in front of your ears, and they vibrate that bone in front of your ears so you can hear what's going on around you. They used to be called Aftershocks. They are now called Shox, Shokz. And I've been playing with their newest of the line, the Open Run Pro 2 headset, which also sits in front of your ears, but it solves the problem that you're having with your current, actually pretty much any of the Shox nowadays solves that problem that you're having with your titanium Treks is when you're out and about or in an airport and there's a lot of noise around you, you can't really hear what's going on. And so how these work is they've got slightly thicker transducers, which are the parts that sit in front of your ears. And then they fire sound into your ear, kind of like the Meta Ray-Bans do or the Bose frames do. But it gives you that ability to keep your ears open, and it does great at high, mid, and low end. So I think that would be your best bet. They are $179 US. There's also, of course, the Meta Ray-Bans start at $299. And then Shox does have their Open Fit line, which are little rectangle boxes that hang outside your ear canal. So they leave your ears open, but that'll also give you better high quality sound, and you can hear them in louder environments. What I don't like about those is they are literally hanging right outside your ear, so they can obstruct any sort of spatial awareness they may obstruct any sort of spatial awareness you might have.
They're actually my favorite because they're not bone conduction. They call them open air. So really it is just firing the sound into the open air, but it's directed at your ear canal because it's, as you say, hanging in front of it. Also what I like is you don't have a neck band with it. They are two independent earbuds, so they can sit on each ear quite comfortably. I actually bought the Shox Open Fits, the first edition, because there's a new edition has just come out. I bought those and I thought they were good. And then I found this cheap pair. And I only went down this road because I found the latency between them and the phone when I was using VoiceOver with them to be a bit too much. It was there was a lot of lag between them and the. And I hoped, and I think it probably will be fixed in a software update eventually. But it's sent me hunting, and I often tend to go down the cheap route when it comes to this because you sometimes find that the cheaper ones are actually better for latency. And I found this pair called the True Free. I've talked about them before. The True Free, all one word. TRUEFREE 01. Not the most elegant name. There's an 03, I think, or 02. There's a new version out as well, which is a little bit more sporty, but it's a very similar design, almost identical. But you're talking like $40 as opposed to, 3 times that. Yeah, exactly. So, or more than that, actually. So, they're really good. Very similar design, and I like them because of that, being separate, and the lag is definitely less. Now, look, to break them all down, it's, I suppose, to think about when it comes to Apple especially, you've got your they still sell the bare bones USB now, or USB-C earbuds, which I love. Whenever I'm near an Apple store, I kind of go in and buy a couple of pairs because I think, they're going to get rid of these at some point, and I like to have them around because they're just wired earbuds, and they just sit on your ear. So they're just your traditional, they don't go in your ear, they just sit on your ear, just on the outside, and that gives you a nice sound, although you will hear a lot of other noise around, and they're not as loud or as bassy as anything else, but they're good.
I find that description a little confusing because every time I hear on ear, I think of the normal, like I'm wearing here, these 70s style
headphones,
DJ headphones with the big
ear.
cups that surround your whole ear.
So we call those over ear. Right, because they actually cover your entire ear, and they usually come with a headband. Now, they can come in different forms as well, around your neckband or whatever, but they are over ear, so they completely cover your ear, usually with a foam around about the outside.
That's right.
On ear is literally those little earbuds that just sit. You would just put them in your ear. They're very small, but you just put them in your ear, but they don't push in. You then have the next level. Now, if we're talking AirPods, basic AirPods, that's how they work. They just sit on your ear. There's a little stem that comes out from the bottom, and that is where the microphone is, and there's an actual button you can press as well, control for swipes and volume and things like that. And then you've got the AirPods Pro 2 that we've talked about a lot, which are those gummy types that kind of push into your ear. And the reason that's has the gummy side, if you like, is because they allow for the active noise cancellation, and you can get into all kinds of interesting areas with this, but ultimately it means it can block out all the noise from the outside and just focus what you're listening to in your ears. That can be good and it can be bad. And Apple have done really well with the AirPods Pro 2. And there's tons of features we've talked about, like the hearing aid functionality and stuff like that. So there's tons in there. Then you've got the AirPods Max, which are the over-ear, the big pair of Apple headphones. Now, the price is... it's considered, right? It's a considered purchase.
Aren't they just called the Air Maxes? Sorry.
AirPods Max.
They are called the AirPods. It's weird. Okay.
Weird, isn't it? I know, it doesn't make sense because they're not pods.
No, that's
but
right.
It's just a brand, I guess. So you have that Air, and Air being wireless, right? That's why they call them Air. Earbuds because they're wired. And yeah, that's ultimately the Apple line as far as it goes. I hope I've explained that well for you, John. I hope that makes sense. But there's so many different types, and I realize the problem is you can't necessarily always get a chance to try these things. But if you're looking for a pair of decent headphones for, say, the Victor Reader, if you've got the Victor Reader or a device that's Bluetooth, like for example, with the upcoming release of the text-to-speech functionality in the Mantis Q40, I'm looking for a pair of cheap. I'm looking in my cupboard for a pair of Bluetooth headphones because I don't need to buy them. They're in there somewhere.
In the Stephen Scott warehouse. Yes.
And it's the True Frees I'm looking at because those are great, just really nice, and they don't block out all the sound around me, but I can still hear and more importantly, wear them all day and be comfortable wearing them all day. Anyway, I hope that helps. Michael, I don't know if you want to pick up on John's first point, though, about VoiceOver swipes. That's a great question, actually. It's not a silly question at all. A lot of people, I imagine, feel the same way here.
Yeah. So funny that this question comes up. So I'm going to push another show on AMI real quick.
Please do.
On Monday's Kelly & Co., I actually talked about swiping and going back to the basics because I think you guys are guilty of this because I can say I am. We we take advantage of the fact that we've been using these devices for X amount of years. So we know that taking one finger and sliding it in a fluid motion to the right will move you to the next element. And taking a finger and sliding it in a fluid motion to the left will take you to the previous element. They were asked, what is it that you can do to go learn these swipes? And I think finally Apple has actually undertaken this. If your phone is on iOS 18, you can go to settings and go to accessibility and VoiceOver. Or if you're using Siri, just tell Siri to open VoiceOver settings. And there's a tutorial in there that walks you through this. And if that's not enough or it doesn't explain it to you, you can also go to the App Store and do a search for VO Starter, which Michael Doyes created. And he walks you through that process as well. And then, of course, Apple has some information on their apple.com/accessibility site.
Yeah, it is, funnily enough, one of the strangest or more elusive things to find online. Because you're right. I think there's a sense of people just know how to use a touch screen. And this is ultimately what leads us back to, okay, well, maybe I'll consider a blind shell, or maybe I'll consider a Capsus or a different device, which is, it has a touch screen, but you don't have to use it. And it pushes people in that direction because they feel they just cannot get to grips with it. Now, some people can't for many reasons, physical reasons. Look, I talk about this tremor every so often. I bring it up, but the double tapping and triple tapping and trying to use multiple fingers is becoming an absolute nightmare with this tremor. So that's another issue.
The extend double tap timeout in VoiceOver, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I'm playing with that to try and get the kind of happy medium, because the challenge is sometimes I can do it fine and other times I just can't. So it's that's another issue. So lots of people have lots of reasons why a touchscreen may not be for them. But if you're intrigued, though, you do need to find a way to start. And it's great that Apple have now got the tutorial. I actually haven't done the tutorial. I should do it.
Yeah.
I know, I should actually do it. Not because I feel I'm sure I'll learn something, but what I mean is to see what they actually have put in there. Because I'm sorry, guys, if it was anything like the Mac one, goodness me, that Mac tutorial, it was the longest hour I ever spent of my life, and it only lasted 15 minutes. It was so boring.
Well, that was something I was going to bring up. I did go through the tutorial when iOS 18 was first released, but I honestly can't remember now. I mean, how much does it go into the above the basics, should I say? Does it mention the rotor at all? Honestly, I can't remember.
It really should.
It should do, yes. The rotor gives you access to various other options. It's I don't know how to describe it.
Well, I mean, I think the other thing I would say, more so about accessing the rotor actions, someone told me this, that you don't have to use, the way it works is essentially putting your finger or two fingers on the phone and then kind of making a sort of twist motion, twisting, almost like you're screwing in a screw, with your fingers. But what I didn't realize was you can have hold one finger on the screen and then use another finger to swipe down. So put one finger on the screen and then use the other one and swipe down. And that will allow you to navigate through the rotor options. Visually, it may appear like a clockwork, but you don't have to treat it that way. You can use it a different way. And again, that was built for people to navigate. I've got to say, they call that split tap because it allows you to use two hands instead of one to do something. I find that feature so good. I wish they had that on Android. I know they have it for some things, but that's one gesture, I think, and a lot of Android people say they would love that feature. So anyway, yeah, great question though, John. I really appreciate it. And thank you for sending it in because I know how difficult that might be to send in a question like that, but I appreciate it. We all do. Let's move on to Jim.
Hello, gentlemen. First of all, you are amazing. You're funny, witty, and informative. That doesn't say enough.
No.
This is Jim, and I learned about your show from Jonathan Mosen before he left Living Blindly, or ended it. He was kind enough to give us a lot of resources to look out for, and yours was one of them, and I thank him for that. I tune in as often as I can and really appreciate all the great information you share. Now here's the question. You got us all excited about how to use the Seeing AI app to be able to do audio description with videos. But we need to know how to get videos and interviews and if we can convert our videos that we already have into MP4. I use an iPhone 13 soon. Someday I plan to have a 16 Pro, but in the meantime, I have a number of videos sent to me by people with iPhones and with Android phones. I just got off the phone with iPhone Accessibility. They told me that they use something called, and I'm probably going to butcher this, HVIC or EIC or something weird like that. I'm sure that you know what they're talking about. Is there a third-party app? Apple says they don't offer one to convert videos that are in either MOV format or that acronym that I just tried to butcher. By the way, just another good laugh. I know a lot of people love Eloquence, and yes, when it came out, it was better than, of course, what we called. Remember the old Echo, lol, that we had back in the 80s for us? Old farts like me? I'm 53, lol. But seriously, it would have been nice if you used Alex or some other really cool voice, as Eloquence is great when you're doing things that are fast. But when I want to hear a cool, rich description of something, I would much rather have either Alex or one of the other cool male voices or one of the cool female voices. Just my opinion. And you know what they say about those. Lol. Anyway, thanks for all the great work you do. Please tell us how we can make our videos, either the ones that we can create on our own, or we can convert the videos that we may already have on our devices into the accessible format for Seeing AI. Again, thanks for all the great work. This is Jim from Florida, but I'm a hurricane evacuate, so I'm currently living in Georgia in a cool RV with my partner and my dogs.
Wow.
Oh.
P.S. I am a guide dog handler with Dovey, my chocolate lab from Guide Dogs for the Blind. But I do think that Glide does sound cool, and when I'm a bit older, and if I become decrepit, that will probably be my future. But not just yet. Respectfully, in peace and joy, Jim.
Jim, thank you. I hope you made it home safe. I know you sent that message in a while ago. I hope you got back home safe, or maybe you just decided, sod it, the RV sounds like too much fun.
Good to me.
Stay there. I quite like the sound of that myself, to be honest. Thank you for your kind words. Michael, any thoughts here on this one?
So we recorded a video with my iPhone real quick that told me that I have a very cluttered area. And I recorded that directly in the camera application and then went into Seeing AI, chose the scenes option, and then chose the file button. And then it took me, after I gave it permission to access my photos, right into my most recent photos. And I just tapped on the most recent video and it described it. Didn't have to do any conversion. So if you're recording videos, I suspect that'll happen the same for you. If someone sends you a video, the first thing I would do is try saving it to your camera roll, which will put it in your order of, when you most recent took video or photos, and then go open it in Seeing AI and see if it works instead of worrying too much about converting it, because chances are it probably will work. And maybe they just forgot to add that to the update notes, or maybe things have been changed since it was released. The other option, and it's a little bit more convoluted, is you can go into shortcuts. And I believe there's an action in the shortcuts app that will allow you to convert videos from one format to another. And if not, you could do a Google search or a DuckDuckGo search or a Bing. Don't do Bing. Do a search on the internet to find out what other shortcuts people have done to convert videos. And I think that's where I would start.
Thank you for that. Let's move on to one from Doug.
Hello, fellas. This is Doug from Sault Ste. Siberia, Sault Ste. Maria, Ontario. I have a dilemma. I don't know if it's a dilemma or just a problem. I think it's a problem. I have a Victor Reader Stream 3, and I have on my iPhone 15 Pro Max a file that is 140 some odd pages. I have Bluetooth on my Victor Stream, as I'm sure you know that, and Bluetooth, of course, on my iPhone. All I want to do is transfer that file from my iPhone to my Stream, but I can't seem to get them to connect. Anyone out there has a solution for me? I would appreciate it very much. Love your show. Keep keep trucking, as they used to say in the 70s. Take care.
Oh, you're giving me flashbacks of my Euro Truck Simulator days, Doug. I was just dreaming there of driving down the west coast of
all right, calm down. Okay, so you're Stream users. I don't use them, so I don't know. How do you transfer files across?
Oh, hang on. It sounds like Michael's truck is already running.
Yeah.
It would appear.
What's going on, good buddy?
Apparently, the neighbor started his motorcycle that I just learned today he got. So that's super fun.
Oh, that's good.
Great. Isn't it great when someone buys a motorbike? Isn't that the best thing ever?
Yes, it is.
Put it in his garage.
So
Fine.
with this, I don't think the Bluetooth support on the Victor supports file transfer, does it, Stephen?
No, it doesn't. I think this is the only downside to the Victor Reader for me is that you always have a computer somewhere in the middle between whatever you're trying to do and making it happen to connect and share information. So the only way you're going to be able to do this, Doug, is to connect it to a computer and get the file onto the SD card or onto the internal memory that way. I don't think there's a way of doing it. Now, I know you can connect devices directly to the USB-C port of new iPhones. I would be very hesitant to hooking up a Victor Reader to an iPhone. I don't know if they would play very well. So I'd recommend, if you have got a computer or access to a computer, to try and do the transfer that way. What do you think?
I don't know, because with that new USB-C support, apparently you can add, you can attach pen drives and it does show up in file or external drives. So maybe the Victor Reader Stream would show up in the Files app of your smartphone. I mean, so I would
should
try.
I blow up my iPhone trying to sort it out?
It's going to blow up. I mean, it's a Victor Reader
I just have that in
Stream.
my head. I just have a feeling of just. I always feel like that.
You
So
always
if I
go
plug
to
something
explosions, don't you?
I just have it in my head. It's all going to just go up in a. I'm going to go up in a blue light one day, and that'll be it.
Yeah, well, the basic is, as Michael said, that the Bluetooth file transfer support, I don't think is there. So you do need the man in the middle. But, if you haven't got...
woman.
Sexist. If you haven't got hands-on on a computer, I would try that. I would try connecting your iPhone to the Victor Reader Stream, or I'm sure our listeners will get in touch and let us know.
They do make USB-C SD card readers, too.
That's a good point. Yes, actually, that's a really good point. Maybe that's a way to do it.
Yeah. And you could get like a USB-C to Lightning adapter if you need to for right now, because you still have the 13, I think, or the 11 older phone. But when you upgrade to that 16, I would explore that as well. And then that will show up in the Files app in iOS.
Or I didn't pick up. He still had the older phone, right? So yeah, do not try and connect it to the Lightning port, because nothing will happen, I would imagine there.
Yeah.
But that's a really good point. Get a Lightning to SD card adapter. Take the SD card out the stream and put it in. Yeah, that could work. Oh my goodness, I think we may have solved that one.
Wow.
Unless, of course, if it doesn't work. Michael Babcock, thanks for nothing.
That was Mickey B's
Give him my
idea.
email if it doesn't work. There you go.
Yeah. Okay, hope that helps, Doug, and hope it gets warmer. I've been hearing a lot about the snow that's covering most of Canada. It's pretty cold. I mean, it's like funny, like in the UK, we're like, oh yeah, it's an inch of snow, which washes away in about a minute, and basically in Canada, you don't see your car or indeed family for 3 months until they defrost. So yeah, different world
Keep
over
warm.
there. Yeah, keep warm, for goodness sake. Okay, let's move on to Andy, who's got a question that I know Michael is going to definitely have an answer to.
Hi, Andy from Essex here. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Thanks so much for the show. Really enjoyed the podcast. And thanks so much to Stephen and Shaun for all that they do. Really informative, really entertaining. Thank you. My question is about Mac, actually. I'm in the market for a new computer. Really interested by the recent episode with Michael Babcock, Mac versus PC kind of thing. I'm confident with Windows. I use it a lot at work. I primarily use Windows Magnifier. Thinking about a Mac for home because of the power, I like the M3 and the silicon chip and that sort of power. Really interested to know how different Mac is to Windows in terms of getting used to it. I see the control and alt keys and the command and options buttons. Are they basically the same? Do I need to learn a whole new set of shortcuts? These are the sort of things I'm thinking about. I know the Apple Mac will be accessible, but I'm worried it's a bit of a steep learning curve for me at home. So yeah, any tips or advice, that'd be really appreciated. Thank you very much.
No pressure at all. Thanks, Stephen. Really appreciate it. Shaun, I'm never coming back, ever. It's all on you.
It's a tricky one, though. I did give a quick response to this to Andy, and I was saying it's so personal. There is a learning curve. Of course there is, but how steep it is very personal to that individual. I bailed out. It took me a long time to get to grips with the Mac, and it just didn't gel with me that well. I preferred going back to Windows. But for other people, as you two know yourselves, it works absolutely fine.
Yeah, so what I think is important to be aware of with the Mac is Command is Control and Option is Alt. And that might sound a little complicated, but a lot of times if you want to save a file on Windows, you hit Control S. If you want to save a file on the Mac, it's Command S. If you want to, if you read some keystrokes that specifically are for Windows and they say press Control Alt, pressing Control Option is what you'll need to do. That's why when you go back to that episode that I was talking about, I was really adamant at finding a way to make my modifier key be the same on Windows and on Mac, because then I would always know what was controlling the screen reader. But the tool that I use at work in Windows uses Control Alt as the modifier. Well, that turns into Control Option on the Mac, which means that then you're navigating with VoiceOver. So pressing Control Option S isn't going to solve a ticket, but it's going to read the current sentence, which ironically enough, it does nothing because VoiceOver doesn't see anything in parallels unless you use VOCR. But I think that's the best way to get started.
It gets complicated very quickly. That's the thing. And it does. I mean, and the thing is that the nuance and the challenge, as soon as you start talking like this, people either start glazing over or switching off because they just think, I don't get this. This is too complicated. But once you get into it, once you start with the basics, it is actually, and we all know this, right? Think about where you are with an iPhone or an Android phone or any smartphone today. Think about where you started and think about what you're doing with it today. You didn't jump straight into that level. You got there, but you got there through determination and desire to get the job done, to learn how to use this app or whatever.
Or deadlines.
Well, and deadlines help as well, yeah. Although sometimes they make it worse. I don't know about you, but I think that's making it worse for me these days. But no, I think that getting it done is it's a challenge, of course, but it might be worth it. Look, it's very. There's a lot of people who've gone down the Mac route and said, "No, I can't do this. It's just too complicated. I don't get it. I don't have enough fingers." And all this stuff is. I think if your brain can get around it and understand it, ultimately the problem. No, I think ultimately the problem is a lot of people come to the Mac thinking it's like the iPhone, and it kind of is, and it also kind of isn't.
If you've used an iPhone with your keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, well, even then, I think it's quite different because ultimately, you have so many elements on the screen to think about, and that's ultimately what makes a computer different.
But there are a lot of transferable skills though that and concepts, right, from Windows to Mac, or just using a screen reader or even a magnifier. There's a lot of those transferable skills, like you mentioned, Michael, about Control S to save or Control N to open, and you just transpose a control for a command key. But you've almost got that muscle memory already there. So a lot of those skills you are going to be able to take over with you, and it may give you a great starting point. It's just those more, maybe out of the way or lesser used commands that you're going to have to dig into and try and find out. But I still say, as we said last time, I think the M4 Mac Mini is the most desirable computer out there right now. And if you get the option to use Mac and Windows, if you still want to, as we talked about last time, in a virtual machine, I think that's a great option. Got the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving it. I'm really loving it, having it back on. And just, I'll be honest, one of the biggest issues I had with the earlier M series Macs was when you're using audio devices with it or audio programming with it, it can be a little bit more challenging because when you're trying to edit something and you're getting various other horrific noises coming out of your computer. That's just showing on Zoom, I know. But all these horrible kind of zzz and stuff that goes on in between because it's trying to keep up and the emulation can't keep up. That can put you off, especially when you're trying to get something done. That certainly is not the case with the M4s. And I'm saying that using an M3. So, what does that tell you, right? M4 is going to be even better because I'm using my MacBook, which is M3. Because, yes, as usual, I bought a computer 2 weeks before the new one came out because that's what I do. But
sorry, can we just to clarify that, because Andy did mention the M3 specifically. So the M3, what have you got, a MacBook or MacBook Pro?
MacBook Pro, that's M3 Pro that it's running.
And you're able to run Windows on that as well without any problems?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, look, I will say this. If you're using an audio interface, a USB audio interface with it, so that could be any kind of audio interface, and I haven't tried them all, but the ones I have tried, you will occasionally, I don't know if you notice it as well, Michael, but you will occasionally get some audio glitches. But it's occasional. It's not as much as it used to be.
Yeah, I do. And I'm curious, when you plug in an audio interface and you do VOCR, do you tell that audio interface to connect to Windows or to connect to Mac?
Always to the Mac.
Okay. I same here. Like, I wonder if connecting it to Windows and saying use this on Windows would give you a more reliable experience. And I don't have that answer because always I just go connect to the Mac because I know then what it's going to do.
Well, that's how I look at it. I always think that the Mac is in charge and Windows will just follow suit. because it does, and it always does. I never lose sound from Windows. So I often kind of trust that the Mac will deal with the audio, it'll deal with everything. But you're right, it could be, I mean, look, you could go far. I know of people who've gone really far with this. They have specific keyboard for their instance, so that keyboard only works when they're in Windows, and they can essentially run two computers at the same time. And this is where not having vision and not having screens can actually be really useful, because you could work off multiple computers at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm not there. I'm happy just to live in one or the other at the moment. Okay, so let's move on to Ronnie. I want to get this one in before we go.
First and foremost, I agree and understand that you are not a medical personnel, professional, or affiliate thereof.
Okay.
You are, in fact, a tech show guru people type. Anyways, here's the situation. A couple times a year, I go to my husband's family and have a gathering. Sometimes it's large and it gets quite loud often, but that's usually because of adult beverages being consumed. I'm not interested and worried about turning off that loud conversation because I've got selective hearing. I want to be able to concentrate on Uncle Frank's conversation sitting across the table. So here's the tech question. Can I or can I not open an app, whether or not it's on the phone already or needs to be downloaded, attach the Bluetooth speaker in my earbuds, plain, simple, everyday, nothing fancy, turn and rotate the phone so it points at Uncle Frank, and have that system set up amplify his voice into my ears? Or is that just a setup that you would be using to record a conversation for later playback? Anyways, thanks. Ciao.
Well, first off, I hope that the rest of your family aren't listening to that, because they would be deeply offended that only Uncle Frank is getting your attention this year at the dinner table.
Although the rest of the drunkards,
I will say, it's so funny the amount of people who are avoiding, family this year because of, let's just say in America, political issues. I don't know if you heard, there was a little election recently. It didn't go too well for some people. So, as a result, some people may not be talking to each other. My suggestion is don't talk politics at the dinner table at Christmas, or ever, for that matter. But anyway,
okay, let's quickly move on.
If you want to focus on Uncle Frank, I've got a thought, but my thought actually comes from my wife, because I asked her. Because she's far more knowledgeable in this field than I am. But anyway, I'd like to get your guys'
What's our initial thoughts on here? I'm jumping straight to Live Listen, a feature in the iPhone, which is only there, though, last time I checked, only available if you have the AirPods. Is that right?
Yes. From my understanding, Michael, yeah?
Or the AirPod Pros. I think.
Yeah.
I think they have to be wirelessly connected. There's also that new hearing aid feature for AirPod Pros too, if you have those, that was released this fall. And then
not in Canada, just to put that out there. Not in Canada yet. Hearing Protect. Now, we got this from Apple directly, actually, because we did want to confirm this, because we had a caller got in touch, Mark in Montreal, I believe it was, who got in touch concerned about this. Hearing protection features, yes. But the hearing aid functionality, not yet. Health Canada has not approved it for use in Canada at the moment. I imagine that will change, but it's not there yet. So yes, in the US you can use it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can get around it with a VPN. You can use it in Canada.
Here we go again. Everyone's going to buy VPNs. But blind people just have can we just have blind VPN? That'd be so much
where's
easier.
Where's the double tap VPN? See, there's your
no.
revenue source.
We'll make it happen.
Have you seen our website? I mean, come on, you want us to run a VPN? Are you kidding me?
There's also an app, and I'm curious what Steven's wife suggested, called Heard That. I had forgotten about this, the actual name of it, but I knew Jonathan Mosen on his Living Blindfully podcast did it. So I went into ChatGPT. I said, hey, there's an app to help me hear things around the table, and it was mentioned on this website. Can you search it for me and tell me the name of it? And it came back in like 10 seconds, and I spent like 20 minutes trying to find it. Amazing. So just as a heads up. So Stephen, what'd your wife suggest?
Well, I was kind of looking outside the app world, because, this could be useful to anybody, frankly. And I was unaware. She was telling me about a device that you can buy called the Personal Listener. Now, this comes in various forms. If you Google Personal Listener device, very key that you use those specific words. There are a range of different devices. All of them tend to look like little dictaphones of old. And essentially they have a microphone at one end, in the middle, which is it makes me think of a little bit of the Siri remote or any TV remote, where the infrared beam at the end is the microphone, and you just point that at the individual you want to listen to, and you have a little earbud that can go into your ear, either a connection via Bluetooth on some of the smarter ones or on the cheaper ones. If you don't have a huge budget, you can buy a cheaper one and connect a wired headset to it, and that will let you listen to the conversation. Some of them also connect to hearing aids as well. So if you wear hearing aids, some of them can be tuned. In order for that to work, though, and these are my wife's words, not mine, but I trust her with all of this information. This is her job, after all. She knows her stuff. You have to have a hearing loop activated. I think that's exactly what she said to me. But you have to have a hearing loop functionality, activated. Otherwise, that function won't work. But yeah, that is well worth checking out. I mean, look, I mentioned that only because, and we're talking about $150 or so Canadian, so about $100 US or so, roughly the similar in the UK, and beyond. You can check local pricing, but that kind of device, it could be, it could change your life if that's the kind of thing you need. And then you're not reliant on your phone, right? That's the other side of it. You're not reliant on your phone, essentially using up all the juice on it to perform that function.
That's very cool. Yeah, I never heard
of it.
No, and the live listen functionality on the iPhone, I believe, once you pair your AirPods or AirPod Pros or other supported ones, I think maybe the Beats, some sort of Beats AirPods may be also supported. If you go to the control center, I believe, Michael, you'll find a live listen option in there somewhere. I haven't used it, so I don't know. But that will do exactly the same sort of thing of being able to place your phone in front of the person, and the microphone will pick up and transmit it directly in real time to those headphones.
Now, just hope those rambunctious family members don't realize what you're doing and decide to get in front of the phone, so then you have to hear them.
What was that app you mentioned?
Heard that
again, Michael.
Heard that. The problem with it is it comes with a hefty subscription. So,
okay.
I hope that helps, Ronnie. Thank you for the question. I want to go to Shaun. Now, this is actually a question we played in before, but it was in the context of the Blindness questions, the Q&A we did, and we played in this message, and I promised I'd come back to it.
Oh, yeah.
So this is Shaun's question.
Hi, Double Tappers. I'm Shaun from Flushing, Queens, and I'm new to Blindness and have been listening to your show the last few weeks. I'm in the process of reaching out to the various organisations who provide O&M, vocational retraining, life skills and other vision rehabilitation services. I'm curious if you could recommend any online communities and resources for the newly visually impaired. Quite frankly, searching the web, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, as if I'm drinking from a fire hose with what's out there, and hopefully you guys can make some solid suggestions along those lines. From Shaun.
Thank you for the question, Shaun. I appreciate it. Michael, thoughts?
Yeah, so I am an avid fan of most of the things that they do of the American Council of the Blind. And there is a portion of the American Council of the Blind, which we have members worldwide, called ACB Community. And I got tired of looking up the website, so I went and bought the domain name acb.community, and you can go there and it'll redirect you to the page on ACB's website.
You John Oliver all of a sudden going off and just buying domains and pointing them to...
Hey, they can be very addictive, just saying. Anyways, so if you go to acb.community, you can get the details. They have a phone number you can call. But what they do is over 100 calls per week on a wide variety of topics. Anything from tech to people with low vision to, hey, I just went blind. What's the best way I can cook safely in the kitchen? It's a wide variety, and they send out a daily email. They're all hosted on Zoom. You can either click the link in the Zoom, or you can call the phone number and enter the access code. So it's very conducive to people from a wide variety of skills. And then you can also listen using your ALEXA and say, play ACB Media 5. 24/7, there's either pre-recorded or live content that's going on there. So it can be helpful to just listen before you jump in both feet first. And also with ACB, when it comes to tech, I recommend BITS, BITS. Even though in the name it's Blind Information Technology Specialist, we're wrapping up a course right now that is basics of Office. It walks you through how to use Office with a screen reader, how to get familiar with what a screen reader is, and then jump in and start using Microsoft Outlook, Word, and PowerPoint. And there's a cost to those. It's $20 US a year, and the ACB community is free for you to attend all of those calls.
That's really useful.
I want to sign up. Outlook still confuses me now. Okay, perfect.
You're
That sounds
hopeless
great.
with Outlook.
I am, absolutely. I can't work the calendar at all.
Just
No,
switch
Do
to
you know what I
new
think it
Outlook.
is? Well, goodness, no, please no. Not enough class. But here's the thing. I find, and I said this before, I find the Mac version of Outlook so much better.
Yes.
And it's just because the navigation is so simple, right? So you have the Shift tab to jump back into the tree view to get you to, whatever folder you need to get to, arrow up and down to say your second mailbox or a drafts or a send, and then tab, and you're back into that message list. Whereas with F6 and Control F6.
all right, the Mac is
Shift
great, and we're on
F6.
Outlook. We're moving
Terrible.
away from the question.
Yes, we are moving on.
ACB.community is the
No,
answer.
that's the answer, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of other resources out there, but as you said, it's like a fire hose of information. So I would start there, and then you're going to build relationships in the community
Yes.
of what other people think. And one advantage to this is every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, do the conversion, U.S. Eastern time, do the conversion for your time zone. They do a what's going on in the community today call where you've got 4 or 5 people who go through, read the schedule out. That's streamed on ACB Media 5 and placed in Clubhouse and on Zoom. But they also engage the community and have a question of the day. So you can start to get to know other people right there from that call.
Yeah, it's a great thing. That's absolutely fantastic. And there needs to be more resources like that out there, because I think it's not just that, though. Tech is, I know people say this all the time, and that's why we always get hit with, you're supposed to be a tech show and you just sit talking rubbish. But, and that, in fairness, that's a very common
Valid point.
accusation flung at this program. But, the point is that it's not always just about tech. It's about the social side of it. And I don't mean that suddenly we all go out and, we have friendships and parties, although that'd be nice. But sometimes it's just getting to know someone who's, in the same boat you're in. There's so many people who get in touch with this program who've said to us before on the show through feedback, I don't know anyone who's blind. I have no one around me I can go to, no one I can talk to. And, by listening to this, they perhaps don't feel as alone. Listening to the ACB community, they don't just not feel alone. They can actually get involved in something. I think that's really vital. I can certainly see the value in that. If I was in the States, I'd be all over that. I know it's not just for the US, but I know people can engage. But it is the ACB.
What's the ACB Media 5? Does that mean there's an ACB Media 1, 2, 3, 4?
There's
And
an ACB
6, 7,
Media
9,
1
10,
through
right?
10. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between them?
The different content. So ACB Media 3, you can go to acbmedia.org and get all the information. But Media 3 is what I think a lot of listeners would like, and that's OTR, or old time radio. So you can listen to like your old different dramas that were on the radio in the 50s and 60s, and that's what it is 24/7. Media 1 is primary content, and I don't remember the rest of them.
I thought when you said old time radio, I thought you meant like us, because you remember that guy that said we were like some show from 2008 the other day?
Yes,
on
that's
YouTube?
right. I need to eat
Well,
more
we're
salad and
old-time
take
radio.
exercise. Yeah, that's still burning.
Yeah. Although someone did come back and defend us by saying, have you ever tried a salad? Disgusting.
Well,
Which, stand up for the hatred. And you know what? I'm anti-vegetarian in that sense. I'm not believe in killing plants.
yes, thank you, fellow salad dodgers.
Listen, we got time for one more, and this is one of these questions that kind of falls between tech and it's not tech at all. Let's just listen to the question.
Good evening. I am a fairly new listener to Double Tap. Since I began listening, Shaun talks about his daily walks with his dog. I am middle-aged and newly blind and would like to adopt a dog. My question is, how does one clean up after the dog has done its business? I'm aware of the pouches with the plastic bags a person can attach to the leash, but how does a person who is blind find the, shall we say, deposits to pick up? I'm a white cane user and also wonder about navigating while walking a dog. Any first-hand personal feedback is appreciated. Thanks.
It's the worry, right? Because you don't want to be want to be seen as those. There's so much stigma attached to leaving dog mess, and rightfully so. So it is a worry. I don't know if there's like an official line on this. I'll tell you exactly how I do it. Is that when you take your dog for a walk, after a while, they have a routine. Like in the morning, I know as soon as I get in that park, he's going to do his thing. So I'm waiting for it. He's on a lead, and the dog will start to sort of spin around a little bit or stop and start to maybe dig at the ground. And because you're waiting for it. When that happens and he stops and he's not moving, I use my white stick actually to follow the lead. I got an extendable lead. I follow the lead to him, and then I feel his posture. If you like, I just feel his, from his head to his back. And if he's slanted in a particular way, I know he's doing his thing. I then place my foot facing his rear end, so I know whereabouts it's going to be. Not too close to his rear end, but so I know the direction. And then I get my bag ready. And then when he trots off and starts covering me in mud to cover it up, I simply bend down, sweep my hand around, and pick it up. I've got my hand inside a plastic bag, obviously, and pick it up. It's not too bad once you get into that routine. But again, there are going to be times where you're going to miss that. And there's just simply nothing you can do about that. And I'm not ashamed. I've asked many people who's walking past, has he done his business anywhere? And they're quite happy to show me where that is. But honestly,
not happy to help you though, I notice.
No.
You know what? No. Actually, a lot of the time they'll say, "Oh, I'll get that for you," because they're fellow dog walkers,
that's
right? We're covered in dog bags, and we don't care anyway.
Yeah.
So it's fine. But honestly, I know it's a real worry if you haven't done it before, but you do get a feel for it, and there is a routine. Dogs do get into a routine feel for it. Stop it.
You do get a feel for it. You're right. That's part of the solution.
Follow your nose.
To be fair. Yeah. Look, thank you for the questions, guys. Really appreciate them. They're really interesting ones. There's more there. We'll get to more of them. And if you have questions, we'll do this more regularly because we'd love to hear what you've got to ask. And literally any question goes. And I want to make that clear. And I think we've proven that today. Michael, as always, you're part of the Unmute podcast. I've got to say, it's a fantastic podcast with so many shows in there now.
Amazing.
Tell people where they can access that.
So you can go to unmute.show to get access to that content. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to a show that is not part of Unmute, but it's something that's a little different. We sit down and talk tech, but we also talk real life and what it's like being a newer small business owner. And you can get that information at technicallyworking.show.
Yeah. Listen, guys, thank you for the questions. Keep them coming, of course, in all the usual ways. We will be back with another Double Tap very shortly. But for now, Michael Babcock, thank you.
Thanks.
Amazing.
And Shaun, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.